This alpha predator of yours, Doctor, do you really think he has a chance?
The arrogance of man is thinking nature is in our control, and not the other way around. Let them fight.
Hello and welcome back to the channel, and what the actual fuck. So the FTC is pushing on suing Microsoft, and Microsoft are saying, fuck off, and going to take you to court, you wankers. Sorry, I was paraphrasing there. And this is all off the back of basically Jim Ryan crying to pretty much anyone he can.
You gonna cry, boy? Maybe when you're done pissing your pants, I'll shit and come on your behalf.
Yep, good old Jim's been crying to everyone. He was crying to the CMA, he's whining to the FTC, I mean. It was basically whining that they can't compete with their rival Gamepass. They said it would take them 5 years to establish something that can compete with it, and it's basically not fair if Call of Duty goes on it. Phil responded back saying, well, you can have Call of Duty for 10 years, and Jim just curled up into a ball in a corner and cried, went silent, said nothing. And some of the apparent FTC concerns that have been raised is Xbox, by doing this deal going through, reducing competition in the gaming market, consumer choice, and raising prices. So raising prices, Sony were first to do this 2 years ago, back in 2020, almost 3 years ago now, when they raised the price of games to $70 or £70, whatever. And they wanted to actually raise them more, but there was a bit of kickback, so they couldn't. But they're still pushing to raise the price of games. They've also increased, like, you have to pay for your updates as well, which they said originally they wouldn't do, but now they're charging for those as well. So I'm very confused. Maybe someone can help me here. Why is the onus on Xbox about raising prices when Sony and all the other competing markets are already doing so? I'm quite confused why this is being targeted at Xbox, who are the last to do so. It's almost as if they're not allowed to raise their prices while everyone else is. It's almost as if they're being held back in the marketplace. On top of that, you've got reducing consumer choice. How are they reducing consumer choice? They're not taking, like, Call of Duty off anyone. They keep it on all platforms. I've said this several times. And even if they do, I mean, the PC gamers are not complaining about it. Switch gamers are not complaining about it because they're going to be getting COD. It's actually increasing consumer choice. Mobile gamers complain, Xbox gamers complain, PlayStation gamers complain. But even if they do remove it off PlayStation, say, I'm confused by why this is not allowed now. Why this is still an option where you're not allowed to have exclusives, or you're not allowed to remove franchises. People say already established franchises off a console. Final Fantasy is an established franchise that's been just removed from Xbox. Spider-Man was I don't know if you've heard of that franchise. I don't know if you've heard the franchise Spider-Man. It's fairly big. That's been removed from Xbox. Oh, but you could make your own Spider-Man. You could make your own Call of Duty, couldn't you? You've got studios that can do it. So you've got the best studios in the world, apparently. #1 studios, blockbusters. Make your own Call of Duty. What's also coming out during all this is that Sony are also paying to keep games off other platforms such as PC and Switch and Xbox, and they're actually paying developers to keep Final Fantasy Remake, your Final Fantasy VI, your Silent Hill 2, even Bloodborne, all games that should have been onto other platforms, but Sony have paid to keep them off other platforms. You have to really question the real motive of all of this, and while the rivals, Sony, the market leaders, are allowed to gatekeep games, are allowed exclusives, allowed to remove franchises, allowed exclusive content on multi-platform games. They're just allowed to gatekeep games while they're just and raise prices and do exactly whatever they want, whatever they please. Raise the price of the console 2 years into a generation. They're allowed to do this, but Xbox is being scrutinised and taken to court for it. And you got to wonder what the illegalities are of this, and if the FTC actually stand much of a chance. This guy doesn't think too much.
FTC has decided to be pretty forward and aggressive with regard to the tech industry. And so bringing the lawsuit in and of itself is not a surprise. Whether they will prevail or not That's going to be a different question because it's going to depend on how they define the market and how they're going to show how consumers are going to be harmed. It's an uphill battle for them, but I'm not surprised that they decided to bring this lawsuit.
Why? Do you think it's political, or do you think that there's some serious question or cause for concern about this takeover?
Well, look, I can't second guess what someone's motives are. It's hard to tell that. All I know is whether a case would be easy or whether what will be a challenge. And I think this will be a little bit of a challenge. Don't forget out there who the rivals are. The rival is another big company, Sony, who has a competing. Yeah, they have a competing platform, and they also have some of the same issues. So are we saying then that any company that has a big platform will not be able to acquire a game company? I don't know if that's the message they're trying to send, but it's one that you have to ask a question about.
Well, there's a statement from one of the director of the FTC's Bureau of Competition who says that Microsoft has already shown that it can and will withhold content from its gaming rivals. So clearly a concern, even though Microsoft says that it is committed to doing the opposite. She says today we seek to stop Microsoft from gaining control over a leading independent game studio and using it to harm competition in multiple dynamic and fast-growing gaming markets. Does that say anything about their case?
Well, all I know is that the reason I think it's a fairly aggressive position is there are probably any number of ways that they could have tried to mitigate this harm by one you saw earlier last week when Microsoft said it would essentially license other consoles to have Call of Duty. And there are any numbers of different ways they could have handled it. Besides the fact that they didn't want to go that route and go forward with just a lawsuit says something about where the statement that they want to make.
I mean, let's be honest, FTC jumped in this two-footed and didn't actually think before they leapt, did they? They was listening to Jim Ryan, that was just in their ear, in everyone's ear, whining, giving his biased opinion about the whole thing, and they just jumped in, and the first thing they come out with was accusing Xbox of saying that Starfield will be on PlayStation, and then retract that, which they never claimed that Starfield would be on PlayStation. They never said that, and they got that completely wrong. And now, once again, we've got Jim Ryan coming out saying Game Pass isn't competition, saying they don't see it as competition. Whereas previously, 6 months ago, he said to the Brazil that it is competition and they can't compete with it, and it's going to take them 5 years to compete with it. So Jim just seems to be bullshitting all over the place. He just seems to be lying to regulators left, right and centre. He seems to be telling one story and another. It's like Chinese whispers. The guy is ridiculous, and I'm shocked that he can get away with it. In fact, the real concern is if this deal doesn't go through, because where does that leave game competition? For years, we've heard the PlayStation fanboys want to say Xbox need to compete, Xbox need to do better. We've heard it from Sony, we've heard it from Jim. Xbox needs to do better. The moment they start competing, their hands are tied behind their back. And if Xbox are not allowed to compete, then Sony will continue to be market leaders. They will continue to raise the price of games. They will continue to raise the price of consoles. They will continue to keep third-party exclusives, both multi-plat and second-party. Just make everything exclusive as much as they can, because they don't seem to have any restriction on what they do. There doesn't seem to be anyone that scrutinises Sony. And the concern is we'll have another Sega situation here, where Sega eventually got pushed out by Sony, and then it was Xbox coming, luckily. But if Xbox isn't allowed to compete, then they will get pushed out, and then it'll just be Nintendo and Sony, and then I see Sony then pushing Nintendo out, just so it's just them, and then they'll completely control the console market space, and they will be happy with that. And I think that will be a massive concern for gaming. And what I find amusing is people are actually concerned and scared that Sony could lose the market leadership. They are truly worried and scared about that, because they have so much commitment to their console and a corporation. They're worried that Sony are not on top, so they don't have a platform anymore. Platform to, to be who they are, because their whole, like you see these accounts on Twitter, their whole existence is based around this console war, based around Sony being on top, based on shitting anyone underneath, basically hating on any developer, any game that's not Sony made. And if Sony drops from that pedestal, I don't know what these people will do. They'll implode. Anyway, I think I read it there. Thank you all for watching once again. Please drop a sub, a share and a like. let me know in the comments down below what you think about all this. Do you think the deal will go through, or why did it go through? Why did it go through? Why do you think it shouldn't go through? Anyway, thank you all for watching, and goodbye for now.